Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we're taking a look at a brand new FPS title that has just gone into its PC early access, known as Delta Force Hawk Ops. And this game kind of has it all if you're looking for the ultimate FPS experience. Like I said, this game just went into its PC early alpha test, so you're able to actually get hands-on right now. And I was able to play it for the very first time yesterday and put a lot of hours into a couple of the different modes that it offers, and wanted to sort of break down the game, exactly what it is, and give my overall thoughts on it, because it's definitely pretty fun. I enjoyed my time on it, to say the least. So as we do go through everything, if you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button if you enjoy the content, and if you do really enjoy it, a like rating is also really appreciated as well. But Delta Force Hawk Ops is going to be a brand new free-to-play FPS title, and like I said, it offers a handful of different modes. There is going to be a base Black Hawk Down campaign that's going to be classic remastered gameplay of the previous Delta Force stories and whatnot. There's also going to be the Havoc Warfare mode. This is also classic remake maps from Delta Force. This is large map, team-based mode, very similar to Ground War or Battlefield, sort of a crossover there with that overall gameplay feel. Then there's Tactical Turmoil, which is an extraction shooter mode, pretty similar to DMZ. Now, across these modes, you do have various different operators you can choose from, and each of these have different abilities. For instance, the D-Wolf operator has better mobility than some of the other ones. You also have attack gear that contains a motorized exoskeleton, so you end up getting faster movement. You can sprint for longer and faster. There's like a triple blaster grenade equipment as well. There's also, for instance, the Stinger operator, which is more of like a support role. They can revive teammates quicker. There's a self-heal pistol. There's a smoke screen grenade, etc., etc. So different ways to approach your own individual gameplay, different ways to help out your team with these various different operators. So if you do like ability-based characters there, you definitely have some options based on how you want to approach your style of gameplay. Personally, I'm not a huge ability lover within FPS titles, like ability-based characters and whatnot, specialists from Call of Duty and whatnot. Not really my favorite thing, but at least here within Delta Force Hawk Ops, none of them seemed too overwhelming. It wasn't like I was running into enemy operators where it felt like there was some significant crutch ability that was stopping me from winning gunfights or anything. They did seem to have minimal negative impact on gameplay, and it really was specific instances you're able to use these abilities and they become very helpful and very useful, but nothing too overwhelming, which for me was definitely a W. When I first loaded it up and I was like, oh, we've got abilities for every single operator, was kind of nervous about that, but didn't really end up being a drawback from my experience, and actually was pretty cool to mess around with some of those abilities in various different scenarios. There are a bunch of different weapons in this game, ranging from rifles to SMGs to snipers, shotties, pistols. You've got it all there, and I want to talk more on the customization with these weapons in just a little bit. This does, like I said, though, have a really sort of unique crossover feel between something like Battlefield as a multiplayer experience, but then also some hints of Ground War from Call of Duty, for instance, at least within the Havoc Warfare mode itself. Like, you've got vehicle spawn-in options, so you could use a helicopter, run through with an ATV, a couple of tanks, or you could just simply play it on foot, and you're playing on these large-scale maps, moving from point to point. The one map that I was playing on at this, the environment was actually really cool. You can zip line up a huge mountain, get up to like the next base, and sort of push the enemies back further and further. The spawn trapping seemed kind of wild in some areas. Like, I was definitely able to do very well because my team had the power position and the enemies just had to sort of funnel in through very specific choke points, and we were pretty much able to absolutely dominate. So there might need to be some balancing in that regard, but overall the map flow and the way that the multiplayer experience just kind of holds together, I really enjoyed, just because it did seem like a nice little combination of Call of Duty and Battlefield gameplay just on a larger scale. Now, as I mentioned, I wanted to talk a little bit more on the weapons because they're really cool with how they work in this game. So the weapons themselves in a match definitely have some feel to them. They have some personality to them. It's not like Call of Duty where every single gun you pick up is an absolute laser beam. You just point and shoot and you're good to go, and you're just going to melt players at 200 meters. No, weapons in this game definitely have a feel to them. They're not laser beams. There is significant control that you're going to have to focus on as you're fighting over range, whether it's tap firing or pulling back much more, or going through in your customization after you do level some weapons up and get some new attachments unlocked, and really going in depth with the actual created class setup here, because you can go through, you've got a bunch of different attachment options. There's also, though, attachment calibration, aka attachment tuning, available for select attachments. So you could extend the range of your barrel, your optic zoom, where your foregrip is placed and how thick it is, where your stock is placed, and this will have an impact on how much control you're getting out of an attachment, how much velocity you're getting out of attachment, better stability, stuff like that. That definitely adds in a new layer to customization. You may recall, if you played Modern Warfare 2 2022, we had weapon tuning in that, and this definitely seems to be a more advanced system there and a little bit more in depth with what you're actually seeing, both in terms of stat changes when you go through and weapon tune, but also visually some stuff can change too depending on the attachment, which is pretty cool. So the Havoc Warfare side of things, aka the multiplayer side of things within Delta Force Hawk Ops, honestly really cool and a very fun experience in my initial opinion there. We also, though, have the Hazard Operations, aka Tactical Turmoil, which is an extraction shooter mode, and this is very DMZ-like. So you load into these semi-smaller areas. You're not playing on a gigantic map. It is a little bit more cut down, and there's various different environments you can end up loading into here for certain missions, and there are specific missions you go through and do, and when you go and complete these, you end up unlocking some new rewards in the form of maybe a couple of weapons, some currency to actually use on the black market, and you can go through and upgrade things with money, or you can go through and auction off things, purchase things out of auction to get new gear, to get weapons and stuff like that. So there's definitely a value behind the currency in the game, which I think a lot of other extraction shooters miss. And then also there is a bit of risk with what you're bringing in too, because some things can be a little bit harder to find than others. There are obviously some things you can loot in game that are high value. You bring out, you can sell them on auction or sell them outright for maybe a different price and just get some quick cash that way. And then as you go through and you do complete new missions and get new rewards, you unlock even more missions and even more tiers and characters to go through and do challenges for. So definitely something you can continue to come back to and continuously have a fresh experience with for sure. Now this mode is PvPvE, so there are some real players on the map. There's also some bots on the map. To me, it seemed like whenever we were running into the AI or the bots, they were relatively low risk. Like a couple of them, if they had shotguns, might mess your armor up a tad bit, but they were pretty easy to take out. There wasn't anything too drastic or too overwhelming, and players seemed pretty obvious to find. Footsteps in general, very noticeable, very audible. You can tell where players are from a decent distance out. It's hard to differentiate whether a player is a bot or a real player just based off of footstep audio, unless you're really paying attention and realizing that a player is running around a ton or maybe doing specific movements to counter your audio, whereas the bot audio might be a bit more straightforward. They're just kind of running in a same direction repeatedly. However, it's definitely obvious to find players when there's gunfire, because the bots aren't going out of their way to just randomly shoot and randomly fire their guns. They're pretty much just standing and waiting around for you to attack them, and then they'll fire back, or if you go into their line of sight, they'll start firing. But if you're just looting a building and you hear gunfire in the distance, it's because there are real players there, and it's pretty obvious to go through and push them if you're looking for some PvP action. But across the board, between our extraction mode and our multiplayer mode, this game's got a nice combination of a little bit of everything that it seems like players want out of an FPS title right now. If you want the more casual, very much so, you load in with a gun, you just point and shoot, there's a lot of action. The multiplayer mode might be a bit more your style. If you're looking for that more in-depth DMZ offering and extraction shooter offering, it's got that as well. So kind of hitting on best of both worlds there, with a really cool operator system and pretty cool weapon customization system as well. Definitely does seem like there's a lot to do in this game, and it's certainly a title, at least for now, that I'll be revisiting when I've got some downtime for sure. But let me know your thoughts on this. If you've played it, what do you think of it down in the comments below, or just based off the gameplay and my general impressions here, is this something that you think you'd be interested in? Would love to hear your guys' feedback below. But if you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. If you want to find your way back, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.